Hey gamers, today we're going to look at groves. Let's check it out. Setup for the game is very simple. What you're going to do is shuffle this deck of tiles here, deal 4 of them out on top of this board as you see on the icons here. You're going to shuffle this deck and put it right over like so. You're also going to take a pile of elements, give out 2 elements to each player. So there's sun, water, and earth, I think, is what they are. Each player gets 2 of them. You'll have a stack for your victory points here. They come in 1 and 5. A stack for your little mirrors here that match kind of over to this area here. Each player is going to get their own little player board here. Comes with a little player aid to tell you what all the icons mean in the game, which is really, really helpful. Each player is going to start the game with 6 white fairies, or 5 white fairies I should say, and one of the fairies will be of their color. Now, each player board is slightly different in that the color and some of the actions at the bottom here are different, but the actions on the side are all the same for all 4 player boards. But they can take any color they want and they'll get the matching color of their fairy. So in this case I have green, I would have a green fairy. So you put all these into your little groves bag, a nice little cloth bag that they gave you, and then you're going to give out, someone's going to get the first player marker here, and then you're ready to start the game. First player, I should say, also gets 1 little gem or jewel, second player gets 2, third player gets 3, and so on and so forth. So what you're going to do every turn, you're going to grab 3 fairies out of your bag, and then you're going to play them on your little player board or on the main player board up here. Let me start off with your own player board here. The actions are fairly simple about what you can do. By placing any color fairy here, here, or here, you can take the action of getting 2 little gems, or you can get over here, if you play it here, you can get 1 of any of the 3 types of resources. However, I could not place my white fairy here because that's a green spot. Only a green fairy could be placed there. And when I place my green fairy there, not only do I get a sun token, but I can also grab a token of any other type as well. So whenever you place one over here of a matching color, you also get to take the other adjacent action on this little, as you see, kind of like tile on the board. And then up here is very simple, because if I placed any color, either white or green there, I could get 1 fairy of my choice and put it in my bag, or 2 white fairies if I want to just get white fairies. Besides green fairies, you can also get orange, yellow, and blue fairies in the game, and that's how you can gather them, is by that icon there. Now those are simple actions, but you have this little player board here, which gives you extra actions as well. What are these extra actions? Well, I could place a fairy up here, place it in any one of these 4 slots, and buy that tile. This little tile costs 1, 2, 3, and 4. At the end of the round, they all shift down, where if no one bought this one, it just gets removed from the game. So they will get cheaper as the game goes through, but you'd pay the jewels that you would want to buy, and then you'd have to pay the cost associated at the top of the board, which in this case is a water and a little earth token. Now these are also worth victory points at the end of the game, and they give you additional places to place fairies on. So for instance, if I place a white fairy here, I could pay 2 of those jewels and 1 resource of my choice to get 1 victory point. Victory points are very hard to come by in this game, so that's not bad. Or if I had a blue fairy, as you see the background blue, I could not only do this action, but I could also pull another fairy from my bag, basically taking another action. Now whenever you take a tile, you're just going to put it somewhere on your player board, wherever you want. Here, 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 wherever you want to place it. And it's going to just be an extra action that you can put, this is basically worker placement, where you can place your little fairies on. The other actions that you can do up on the board here is I could place a fairy here, and I could grab a card from this deck. Now these basically represent points. For instance, this is an in-game point. If I have the most orange spirits at the end of the game, I can get 2 victory points. Or maybe if I was to draw a wraith, which is a black fairy, and a blue fairy from my bag on one turn, I would play this card showing that I drew both of those, and I would get 1 victory point. So again, these are just ways to get extra victory points in the game. And then the other one down here is the mirror. And what it is every time you place one here, you get one piece of the mirror. So this is one bottom piece here, and this is a top piece here. And once you place, like say I place my second fairy there, they don't have to be white, they can be any color. Then I could get the second piece, connect them, I would get one victory point at the end of the game, and then I have a choice on where I want to place this on the board. So for instance, on the table, I could place it over to my left or over to my right. Now, the reason why that's significant is when you're playing against other players, this is going to give you a passageway to their player board. So let's say yellow player was over here. Well, now I have access to yellow player's action board. So maybe they have some tiles that I want to use. I can basically send one of my fairies through the portal to their board and play it on their board. Now, the cool thing about that is that I get to take extra actions. Now, it's only one way. As you see, this mirror is only one way, so the other players can't do it unless they build their own little dart mirrors. But you're also going to be getting one of these little wraiths. Now, wraiths are basically wild cards. They can signify anything and trigger anything in your realm. The only thing about a black wraith is once you play it, it doesn't get removed back into your bag at the end of every round like all the other different fairies would. If you played any fairies on your player board, they all go back into your bag at the end of your turn. Except for a wraith, it stays on your board. Or if you sent a wraith to someone else's board, it stays on their board until they play a white fairy over it, and then therefore they can remove it from their board by playing a white fairy. But anyway, the only way you can get wraiths is by using by getting these mirrors. And of course, the maximum you can get is 2, because you'll have you'll have access to each other player's different boards there. You can't put another one in the center and go against the guy right across from you. But anyway, one thing about wraiths though, you cannot play wraiths here on the board. All the fairies that are on this main player board, they just get removed. They don't go back into the player's bags. They just go back into the basically the kiddie pool of fairies for someone to choose from. And again, you can place any color fairy but the wraith there. So basically that's what you're going to be doing, is going around gathering resources to buy tiles, to get victory points, to probably get more fairies and get more and more powerful. You're kind of building an engine here. It's a little bit of worker placement too. I should also mention that the first player may not, on their first turn, they cannot grab one of these tiles. It's actually shown there on the board, if you will see right here. You have round number 1, it has an X there, and 2 and 3 they can. So on their second or third turn they could, but their first turn they couldn't. Now another thing I should mention, whoever's the first player here, they're going to receive any of the gems from other players as they buy these little hexagons here. So if someone was to buy that one that costs 2, let's say, then those 2 jewels would go to the first player. So it's a quick way or easy way to get gems. Now the game keeps going until you run out of tiles, and then after that, whoever has the most points wins. And once I just wrapped up the video, I realized I made a quick mistake here. Basically, you're shuffling not these into the deck. These are in-game points that anyone can gather. You'll just place 3 of them out on each game. It's these, the ones with the fairy background, that's the ones that you're shuffling and putting there. The ones that you're grabbing, they're called summoning cards. You're just grabbing and trying to get those on your turn to get extra victory points. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, you know what? Kind of engine building, kind of, worker placement. I really love. This game flew under the radar for me. I didn't know anything about it. In fact, when I first checked it out, I passed it up so many times because I thought it was about trees. It's a weird title for something that it's not. It's more of a fantasy game, and it's really nice. I love how the player aid is right there on the map, so you can understand everything. The first time we played it, we had 0 issues looking up things in the rule book. I did get those cards mixed up. I knew I made that mistake the moment I reviewed those cards. Like, wait, those are in-game cards. Did I shuffle those together? What a moron. Anyway, though, the game in and of itself is really a lot of fun. Now, this game is super cheap to get, so if you're a worker placement fan, if you're, it's almost bag building too, in a way. If you like any of those, mechanics in a game, I really suggest you pick this up. Like I said, it is selling for a decent price, and I do enjoy it. The pieces are nice. It looks really nice on the board. I have a gamer in my group. She's big in artwork, and she just loves the artwork in this. Of course, I'm pretty sure she picked up a copy of this the moment we played it. But anyway, this is a great game. Super fun. Happy to have it in my collection. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, game on.